What passion do you have in life? It's nice to talk about. It's not easy to do. And then it's not easy to keep doing. But I will not take it the easy way. I'll always believe in myself, believe in the things I can do. And if you don't believe in yourself, nobody will.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Master Mo Podcast. One of the things that interested me to do this episode is someone who had started his career as a farmer and had led to his way to become the CEO of a bank. He had a major impact on the banking industry in the Kingdom of Bahrain. My guest today, considered as one of the subject matter expert, and to be more exact, he is governance guru in the Kingdom of Bahrain. He is none other than Mr. Saleh Hussain. He came to the podcast today to share his knowledge, stories, and things to benefit the community. He wrote over 30 books in the subject of governance. And without a further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, Saleh Hussain.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be with you here, and I look forward for interesting discussion and share whatever we have with your viewers and subscribers.
Obviously, yes. So, for the benefit of the guests, if you're new to this channel, ensure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so, because you're gonna miss so much. And my promise is, the bigger the channel is, the bigger guest that you're looking for, and you want to have the people who want to dive in and have a perspective from them. And today is one of our perspectives, someone who've done so much for the kingdom. But I like to start this podcast by highlighting one of the things that I have noticed about you. You love giving community, you love giving back.
Yes, I think this is something nobody should take it lightly, because you only come from a community. So whatever you give back is not enough. You can always form yourself in different ways. But all the time, don't forget that the community is where you come from and where you rightly have to serve and provide your experience and assistance.
Impressive. And so what makes you think that giving is something that you have to do?
Giving is, it has the unlimited scope of choosing whatever you want to do and to give. And to give back, normally, we as a human being get a lot, we take a lot. And we don't appreciate that the givers who give you all of this are the people who deserve to get some of your givings. And the more you give, the more you make a better community, better society, and better countries.
Have you had this, if I ask you this, Saleh, have you had this like from the beginning of your career, or you just noticed that once you reach your C-suite level, then you think about giving back to the community? How this really worked for you?
I guess I'm very lucky in the sense that I was grown in a big family where giving to them is everything. And those days where the family that I relate to are engaged into farming, fishing, and all of these things, they need the society around them, either to buy their products or to help them in the garden, making the big gardens, with all what it takes for the community, doing the fishing, so they also have to get their share of fish. All of these things can only be done by everyone cooperating with each other and needing the efforts of the other. And that was what we saw when we were very little. In any house, you will find if any need help, the other neighbors will gladly come and help without saying how much you're going to pay me. No, I think they take it from neighborhood that there are duties that you have to give and take.
Interesting. Now, when I dive into this, so how would you describe your childhood in shaping your future? Or your career path that you have been taking through?
I think it has a lot to do with that, we just said, that when you are a family which is doing farming and the fishing, fishing as well, and all these kind of occupations, it only means they need people to tell them to do that. They need people that they can sell their products to. So we are, as children at those days, are expected to really provide a number of things. We have to deliver those kind of products from house to house. And, to see that happening, you're a small little boy, but you are given sometimes something more than what you carry to deliver to number 1, 2, 3, 4, or to somebody who's in the village. That was something to us that taught me personally a lot of what is called giving. It's not a community that only takes. A full community takes and gives. And the giving and taking was there. You see it with your eyes every day. And the same thing provided if somebody comes from outside our village. You will find the amount of giving and the care they take about their guest was incredible.
So now, Mr. Saleh, from your, obviously there is like a lot of range because you brought up in different culture compared to right now. I mean, it has evolved drastically, I would say. And you had lived in an era where there is no technology, and it's evolved, and it is boomed, right?
Yeah.
So thinking about the Basque culture and how would really describe how that previous culture embodied you in your career?
I guess that was good base for me, because that culture taught me to see people, how they do what they do, and how they do things, how they interact with each other, how they treat each other. And no matter what you think, these are villagers, but they are doing all of this relationship with a lot of respect to each other, with a lot of readiness to help wherever the help is needed, with a lot of kind of sincere sharing of their feelings, openness. They will not, for example, and for the sake of keeping you kind of happy, they will not tell you what be done or what you can do, what we cannot do. No, they are very open, very straightforward, and that taught us the same. So that kind of environment around us was very important for us to grow, armed with all of these kind of conversation that happens between them, which is at times we found they might be fighting, but they were not. They were only simply very sincere, very frank with each other. And that is good.
What do you think its difference? If I'd have to tell you that's the difference between now and then, what would be your perspective of it?
It is so huge. The difference is so huge, because there you will say, everyone will say whatever they feel openly. They will not say it behind you. They will say it in your face. They wouldn't kind of try to find the words to tell you what they think. They will simply tell you what they think. But now, you and I know, before I utter one word, I would have to make sure, is he going to be listening to me? Would he be kind to listen? Would he take me that I need to do something to improve something? Or he would take it because he has something else. He has different agenda. That was not there at all. Everyone spoke in a very direct way, knowing that if something happened to him, somebody will also talk to him the same way, because there's nothing to hide from each other. And that was very interesting.
It is interesting indeed. And you say this because the time has really changed.
Yes.
The culture has been changed from your time, like pre-internet. I mean, not pre-internet, but pre-internet, pre-technology, pre-computers, pre-social media. Back in days, there was nothing. Even I think the newspaper was not even there.
This is one, and there is very important aspect there. When they actually talk to each other in such open way, they apply also when they have, for example, if somebody who is my neighbor, that came to my house, and it is getting late for him. My father or uncle or everybody in the house will tell him, hey, you have to go home. Your father is looking for you. Don't stay here. You are late. No, you cannot say this to anybody, right?
Yes.
If you go and find them, kind of number of children standing in a dark place or avoiding going to school or something, you will always expect them to tell them as they spoke to their own children. And that kind of openness made everybody aware that, there is a lot to respect, a lot to do, and make sure that if you do anything that's not proper for the community, they will come and tell you straight away. There's no kind of keep it for tomorrow or niceties of I don't want to upset his father or no. They would speak very openly.
Do you, if I'd ask you to go back to that time, have you had any lessons? And correct me if I'm wrong, back days the school wasn't, it was just starting up a school. So have you remember that some of the lessons that it stood with you and it's kind of shaped your vision?
Yes, many incidents. I can only give one or two as an example.
Of course, go ahead.
They were as people looking for people around them, just like their own children. So they will not spare any kind of discussion with the children. Same way they do it for their own children and their neighbors and the people they know. And with that, it means the other also families will treat them the same way. And that kind of openness created a lot of, I wouldn't say fear, but awareness in us as small children, that be sure that, you have to do this. If not, whoever sees you in this house will come and report to your father. And I can give you two stories just to illustrate this.
Of course, the floor is yours.
We are one of the families that have a majlis that in the evening is full with people from the village and people who come outside. So what happens is that when they come, each one of them will tell the story of what they have done in the day. Someone will say, I went to Manama, I bought fish, I bought this, and the price is this. And someone will tease you and say, hey, I bought it for less. They must have cheated you in Manama, something like this. And somebody came at that one of the nights, a very respected man in the village, and he said to my father, in front of everybody, in our own house, I've seen Saleh standing before prayer time, not going to mosque, and when I tried to talk to him, he was about to hit me with a stone. Of course, my father was very furious and very angry. He was almost going to slap me, but they needed me at that time because I was the one who preparing the nargila, we call it hubble bubble, for smoking. He said, okay, later on, after my father was telling him, don't worry, sir, after this, I'm going to take care of him. He will never do it again. No. I was listening. I did not go to what he said. I did not leave my home that day. But he thought he must have mistaken me with somebody else. But my father did not just say, no, he did not go. I just say, no, I'm going to take care of him, take care of that this thing doesn't happen again. So this is a story, someone to come to your house and said, I've seen you or your son in this place. Said, give me evidence that maybe show me a video, show me a camera that he is, that there's no. Whatever the elder people say, to start with, and regardless of anything, the father or relatives will always take care that this doesn't happen again, even if they have to whip their children.
And was it, the reality was it, did you really want to hit him?
No. I was worried that my father was going to use one of these sticks and hit me.
No. My question is, the story that guest brought to your father, Majlis, or the respected place where they gather with the... Majlis, yeah, with the big nawaqda and the people who respectfully in your village. Were you really... He saw you, his story was true, or he was just faking it?
No, I told him I was just a little boy and I was crying. No, I was not there. I did not go. It wasn't me. He did not see me, I did not see him. But just like you say, as they have come all the way to our house, they have to say something. It so happened that what he said was not true. But being a little boy, I cannot say in front of him, no, it's not true. My father will not let me. But he told him, I'll take care of him later on. Because at that time I was doing some work, as I said, bringing to them the coffee and tea and so on, and nargila.
Interesting.
So this is one story you can see. They don't even think twice that if an elder man come and report that he has seen you somewhere, he must be saying the right thing. He cannot lie. So this is one story that I can give it as a thing. We have so many other stories that some have one cousin also was reported to my uncle that he was with somebody that somehow the family was in dispute on something. As kids we did not know what was that thing, but his father was very angry at him to the extent that he actually took a stick and started hitting him. Until that when he says, thank you. And he said enough. He stopped hitting his son.
Oh my God!
Because you see, to them, if somebody reports something like this, if they don't do anything, then just tell them that they're liars, and you cannot say for elder man you are a liar.
You're not allowed, maybe.
They will not like from custom point of view, from tradition point of view, you cannot say no for someone who was very respected in the village. That what you told me is wrong.
What if he was lying about it?
Even if he's lying, he would. I said because they have the idea. If someone in this position and comes to lie, what can we do about him? We just believe him because we respect ourselves, and therefore we have to take action. So these are the kind of things. That's the kind of the community that we had, which added something to our personality: openness, frankness, and always ask about what you are supposed to do, what are you telling people to do, and what people is wanting of you. Ask. So you get that kind of inside you. It helped me a lot because seeing them doing all of this, I would not all my life fear or shy from saying what I see people and what I see might be wrong or might be something questionable. And only by asking and engaging into asking, you get better knowledge.
And that beating part has changed, right? I mean, back in the days, there was a lot of beating, a lot of things that I don't know what's the difference, but we heard a lot of stories, especially from not the previous generation, from ours, like the previous, like 60s, 70s, who were born on 50s, 60s, 70s. We heard a lot of stories from their generation, even the 80s actually, that beating was one of the things that it's mandatory for you to be a man.
I'll give you another example. Which happened to me. We used to have 3 from Oman.
3 from Oman.
They work in our farm, family farms. 3 Omanis. And my father gave me salary to take for them. And the salary at that time per month was 10 dinars for, 10 dinars. 10 dinars, it's only, they call it 100 rupees. So I'm supposed to give them their salaries. While I'm happily walking in the street, in the village, in the small alleys, you can call them, and somehow, because it was windy, the note of 100, which is not equivalent to 10 dinars, flown out from my hands. Gone with the wind, as they say. And I tried to retrieve it. I couldn't. It was just flying. So I came to my father back home and said, Dad, I'm sorry you gave me this. And I lost it. How did you lose it? I said, it's gone. He said, okay, no school until it comes back.
What?
And he made me stay at home for 7 days. I thought it's gone school is gone. And the second day, the president or the principal of the school came to see him. He refused. Another 2 days, about 3 or 4 teachers who happened to think that I'm doing good at the school also came to beg him. Don't worry, we'll give you the money. He said, no, let him take the lesson. So, and he waited until the 7th day, and it so happened that when it flew from my hands, there was a big tree in somebody's house in the village. And it's just stuck there, and when the wind subsided, that note came down. And the lady of the house collected it, say, oh, this is from God. She kept it in her pocket. But she's a very noble person. When she came to know that I was losing the school because of that, she came to my father and said, this is your note. And he said, no, are you sure you just told him to make it up? He said, no, well, I swear. She started swearing that this is the note that I received. I've seen it there. I kept it because I thought it's coming from there, but this is, it's coming. And only when my father received the 100 dinar,
100 fils. 100 rupees.
Yeah, which is 10 dinars.
And how big was that, this 10 BD? Like, is it like...
No,
not in the size. I mean, in terms of what is the thing that you can buy with?
It's a salary for one full month. And just imagine, it's salary for one full month.
Oh my God.
So I was lucky that this lady, which I owe her a lot, and during her life and her children, I always told them, thank you. Without her bringing this money back, I might have had no chance to go to school.
Was he really, I wouldn't choose the word stubborn, but was he really serious about it?
He's very serious, and he's just like, at that time felt that the only one way to get me and my sisters, brothers in shape and straightforward is to really treat us the same way he treated me. But on the other hand, he is very loving person, very loving kind of father, that he will do anything, and he did that all over my life, to do it for us. But this is one of the things that say why your question is very, very appropriate and in time, because this is exactly what we said. How could he, for the sake of this, does this? But that's him. He would always be out front. If he has to say something, he will not sleep without saying it to anybody. And he continued this until the last day of his life. He is known for anything that he doesn't feel right. He will always talk and speak, and sometimes even report to the government. So this is what is all.
Just get closer a little bit of the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
That's same as my father. Everybody knows him in the village. That he is stubborn, but he is very fair, very loving person,
But harsh.
Harsh. That's his way.
Do you think it's because his or their upbringing was something like that you have to treat them harshly, so that when they reach they move their ladder and become like teenager and stuff like that, and become like 20s or so, they become like man up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm gonna try and say. Is that's because of their upbringing was like this, or they think that is the best way to do for you?
Partly, as I said earlier, they are very frank and very open. They wouldn't, if they want to say a word, they wouldn't kind of mask it with something else. They will say it straight. So he is brought that way because he is number 5 he has total, there are 4 brothers and 1 sister. And they lived together in the house, and the father was treating everybody the same. And he will not just keep things go out of hands. He would always control the relationship between the children and others. Therefore, my father grew to take whatever his father was telling him, the way he was, in a way, putting himself in his shoes. Because his father has kind of big responsibility, big house, big farm, So when he grew up, my father was like, and people tell him that the way he behaved was just like his father, and it comes from there. So this is the connection.
Oh my God!
Like he has inherited whatever his father was kind of acting, and he liked how his father was acting, and accordingly he did the same.
But I think now, when you this has brought up to you, how was the impact for you to take it for your own children?
Well, I mean, maybe one day see one of my children ask me this question, but I know.
I want to know from your perspective.
I know they're quite different because over the years, my children are my friends, because the nature of our lives, our work has changed. We made sure that whatever happens, even if I come late from the work, I will always spend time with them. I will always make sure what they are doing, what is their grades at the school, and I will go to see their teachers. That kind of thing was not there, you see, for them. For my father, that was not there. For me, it's like a must. I do spend a lot of time at work. At certain times, I was feeling guilty about it, but that was the only one for their upbringing. So they had all the attention, and they were open to say anything they want. I would never lay my hands on them. If I did it at a certain time, maybe not intentionally, but that's the way. And accordingly, our environment has changed. It's different. Like we go to work in the bank, from morning until we come back 11 o'clock.
In the night?
Sometimes. And at that time, you're going to wake them up and hit them? No. But even that we're working about 1 or 2 o'clock, it's just not the time you come, you would like to be looking at your children, whether they are having any things to do for the school, and would like to help them. So with that, the change of life also made us change the way we look at our children and our community. That's quite different that we did not at that time have. At that time we had do, you do. Don't, you don't. That's the way you have to listen to your father. Now if you tell your son, and I think he would have to question you, why are you saying this one? And give him all the justification to say that what you said is right.
I really love how you put it through, to be honest, because I find this really interesting, because perhaps you had applied the same thing, but into their good and into their studies, because through the way you're speaking about your lecturers and your teachers, that when your father kind of do that to you, they come and tell your father that we want Saleh to be back, and then think, according to them, I was doing good, which basically in my understanding, you're doing really good. Otherwise, they wouldn't really come to bothered about it. Why would they bother? Because you're clearly one of the best for them. Now, what I believe is different from you and your father and his upbringing and your upbringing is that basically you took whatever your father taught you, but then you emphasizes in their future, and you make sure that they were doing good in terms of schooling.
Yeah.
Just like where you would do good, although maybe your father was not really a believer in school, isn't it?
Well, you see, that's what was kind of thing that we thought about him. But to be fair, what happened is that he is one of the few people in the village who allowed eventually all my sisters to go to school, not only us.
Oh.
So only actually 2 of them have gone to school, and 3 not, which some of them went to school for evening lessons to get.
Can I just interrupt you on something? That you mentioned that he's the first one in your village that brought your sisters to school, which means the other...
No, I'm saying there are, but I'm saying he's at his age, yes, he might be the only one, because there are younger ones who actually 1 or 2 who started.
So there was this influence back then, because I think maybe back in that era that girls were not allowed to go to school.
No.
And the reason for that, because they are just believe that there is a housewives and they born to get married and bring kids to the community, and that's about
same
it.
thing for my own wife. She did not go to school at the time we got married. But after many years, number of years, my sister started going. She's also joined them, and she finished up to, ثانوي and more.
High school.
This is where at that time we come at an age that I go to my father and say, we need to have our sisters to go to school. Some of them already got married. So he said, no, you're going to speak to their husbands. For the ones that are still at home, let carry them. And actually, as I said, 2 of them have joined the school and they finished. And as today, one of them is a nurse with a good number of children, and the other one is also married. So, they have got all this kind of thing because the father, with his time, the change when the time came to this big change, that not only us as males are allowed to school, but also female. They have, got themselves into that, and they made it happen, and we are very lucky.
Now, speaking of this, I want to understand how on earth you started your career as a farmer and you reach up to CEO of a bank.
Okay, that's it's real. That's what happened really. But to start with, as we went in our lives, and our kind of uncles and father, they were aging. They came to a point that they could not support the family with what was remained from the big farms they have. Like there is not enough waters. There is a lot of things happening. So they needed to really do something. And I saw at the time that really they were not going for fishing anymore. There is no anybody who can help them to employ us or something. So I took the decision to leave the farming, and also at the time I was in this secondary school, about 2 more years to go. So I left and had after that all the last first, second, 3 years in the university, in the secondary school, all by what we call from home. You study at home, you go for exam then. This helped me a lot because I had to support the family. I could not at that time, knowing what the family was and how wealthy they were and how kind of guests come from to them from everywhere, to a time where they hardly have anything to eat. So I left this at the age of 16, and I said, let's go out. And at that time, the jobs that are started to coming to the market are banking. In Bahrain, you have like faces, and you had the Babco, where most of the people were employed by Babco. So they leave their school, they go to Babco. For the second wave came the banking. And the banking, as you know, that was when it started in the 1970s, people were just like going everywhere, even leaving Babco or going to there. Like this is the new kind of industry that we go. So me too. So I went there and I came to my father and said, I found a job. And he said, why do you have to go to a job? You have to, all of this. I said, don't worry. I understand that you need support. Because he was not even agreeing that I go to school.
So was he, if I bring it back to that moment, was he didn't wanted you to have it your own living, and he wanted you to
continue working, doing my studies, but also make sure that I do not leave the big
farm.
You have fruits to sell, you have vegetable, you have somebody to irrigate with water, you have something to sell them, and I was doing a lot of that. So he said, no, you have better to do. I said, no, Dad, I can, because this will not give you money to live. So I went there, and it was also frustrating for some of my teachers, because I so happened when I started, I was always, most of the time, I'm the first of the class, first in the thing. As a good student, they did not want me to lose. They did not want to lose me. So it took me some time to convince him this is the best. Then, of course, I continued. The first job for me was with the British Bank of the Middle East, which is called now HSBC. That was the second bank in Bahrain, because the first bank in Bahrain was Eastern Bank, which is now Standard Chartered Bank. So these are the only two banks that were available in Bahrain. And when I went to apply to the bank, I was called by the GM. You're such a small guy, you go all the way to see the GM of the bank. I know his name is Mr. Brisby. Brisby, yes. And he was like the CEOs of the bank now. And Hilton said, you are too small. Why are you coming here? I come here, I'm looking for a job. And then he sent me out. Another Indian came. He said, his name is K. Cable in their car. He said, Mr. Brisby said, you must work. He changed his mind. The fact that you're taking the courage to leave the school, but you have to do your school. I said, I will. I continued my school for 2 years. So while working, studying. And this I can't tell many stories, but something just to see. We did not have cars in our village when I started. When I say cars, but normal cars. You have lorries, you have other things. They use them for carrying things. So I used to wake up 5 o'clock, walk all the way to the Zallak Road. It is usually half an hour. But what happens is this. The only vehicles at that time are the lorries. And the lorries are all full at the back of them. They are all full with either dust or rocks. Yes? And most of the time, I will get, there could be somebody who said, please sit with me inside. And sometimes, no, it's only, you have to sit on the sand or the rocks. So by the time...
In the lorry,
which is at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's so cold, so uncomfortable. And by the time I get off in Nars Albania to go to the job, I have the first thing I do, I have to empty my buckets of the sand that accumulated during the trip.
So no matter how much you took shower, whatever you will do, you'll get dirty before going to work.
And I continued there for almost just under a year and a half, where then I bought my first car, which was Toyota.
Oh, Toyota!
Yeah.
And what was your first car? I'm curious to know.
Yes, Toyota.
No. What type of Toyota? Corolla, Cressida?
Corolla. No,
Corolla.
And it was for 925 dinars.
900?
And you pay something like 200, and the
installment
is 25 dinars. I cannot forget that. 25 dinars.
No, you pay 25 ED for iPhone.
I got a bank loan to support me because I didn't have it.
900 BD, you didn't have it?
No, I bought it from the bank. That's why the thing. So this is what happened. Thereafter, second car when I went to the Bank of Bahrain Kuwait, which was just opening in 1972, 14th of February 1972. So I joined them because one of the teachers who was in the school somehow knew that I was not, I was working with the British Bank of the Middle East, and he called me and said, get yourself here because it's a new Bahraini bank open. So it was BBK, Bank of Bahrain Kuwait, and I was there with them for 2 years.
So if I would reflect on this, Saleh, and what was your work there in the first bank before you're going to the second bank? So just to get the storyline correctly, because
yes, the first bank or first profession or job with the bank was simply sitting like this in the mail department with a small knife to open envelopes and packages that come and give them to my boss. That's it. That's my job. So I take the one they brought from the mail box. I open one and with a knife, just make it open, and I'm not allowed to read, I'm not allowed to touch. So I just open and give it to somebody he will look at it, and then he will put in a kind of a small mail thing, bigger sheet, and then they call it that time Farash, which is the
housekeeping or not housekeeping, office boy.
Office boy, yes.
Office boy.
They will give them to them, and they were already divided. This goes to this, and this, and that's all what I do. The same way, when at the end of the day, we receive all the mail that need to be sent, and there's a franking machine where I just put the stamps, close them. I'm not allowed to look inside.
But you were a student back then. You was not average student, so you had really good intellectual ability, but also.
Yeah, this is alhamdulillah, because this is where they put me in the mail, because I'll be able to read. Even English and Arabic, I would be better because I had only some. For example, they have an Indian, and he will only
read English, not Arabic.
Because I have both, so they put me there. After that, about 6 months of doing this, they thought maybe I can do something better. They sent me to be to the cash department, where I became cashier. And that's quite development, because they don't trust you to
handle cash
after 4 months, especially at that time.
But you prove yourself.
At that time, I was in need for money, because that's why I work. But no, I had a very good job there, and I learned a lot how to get the cash, how do you count it, how do you disperse it, how do you the machine does that for you. That time you have to use your fingers to check and count the cash in and out. And at the end of the day, you need to
report it,
and you put it in the safe with your boss checking everything that you've done, and to pass the necessary entries for the recipients and people who take the cash from you. It was a very interesting job. And then I was sent from there to there. This was in the head office of the British Bank of the East, but they had a branch in Qudaibiya. They took me there for about 1 year before I left them and went to BBK.
And what was your job in BBK?
BBK, I worked with the chief. Now they call it chief accountant, which is equivalent to CFO nowadays, which is a new bank. So my experience was helpful to him, that I devised good number of forms for the cash department. And we started also working on writing procedures. After 2 years, I said also, I come to know that there is another bank called Greenlease Bank opening in Bahrain.
Greenlease?
National and Greenlease Bank. This is like a joint Britain and India bank. They have, at that time, they have just like many branches in India. And that was in 1973, end of 1973. And the first time ever that I had was they sent me to Calcutta, India. So I was just like starting to learn something. After a year, the manager called me and said, Mr. Hussain, you are going to India. Where in India? I said, Calcutta. And I went there, and it was so interesting for me, and it's like an eye-opener.
Why?
It was, I don't know about now, very congested city. The first day I was there, they gave me a car to take me from the hotel to the training center. Next day, I decided I don't need the car. It's much faster to walk than being in a car because of the congestion, because of the number of people, and it's very heavy traffic. You cannot walk. So, but that was very good experience for me, because you see, going from Bahrain with different, you hardly see a car, to here number of cars and people, it was a good experience.
Quite different experience.
And we were in a hotel, which is 5-star, called Park Lane. And the first evening, or second, I just walked in, coming back from the work, about 7 o'clock in the evening. And in front of me, I see all these Indians, big actors, because that's the only place they stay. At that time, there's somebody called Rajesh Khanna and Mumtaz. This is she. Rajesh Khanna is the man, and she's a woman. And I just somehow went inside and said one of their songs that they sing it in one of the earlier movies. So they come, where are you from? So I sat with them on their table and starting talking to them in Hindi and singing that song for them. And that was kind of something that happened to me. I cannot forget it. I thought they would take him out. But they were very interested to hear somebody from Bahrain singing their own songs.
Yeah, I mean, you were there in their country, you were there in their territory, and then you speak their language. You actually sing one of their famous songs, and perhaps they didn't see someone from Bahrain coming there before, because we would see Indians come to Bahrain, but they would see Bahraini in India speaking their language and singing their favorite song. It's like a dream come true for them.
That song was like very famous. And for them to say, that's the question, where are you from? That's the question when I say hello to them. Then when I start saying, Chal, Chal, Meri Sati, oh, Meri Hati, start with this. That's the song. They just look at me and say, come here. And they sat me on the table. They asked me they offered me something to eat. And then the last day I was leaving, or 2 days before I left, I was just there, and one of them was came and said, hey, Mr. Hussain, come. They even remember my name. It's good. So this is the kind of experience you cannot forget.
Yeah.
It's like I came back to Greenlays after the 2 months, 3 months of training, and then they said, you're going to go to Athens. And that's where I spent. Athens, where Citibank had their own training center, and you will see that most of the big shots in Bahrain, in the banking industry, had opportunity to go on different things, because I, in total, almost for 2 years, between going for 6 months, 3 months, and 9 months. This is the kind of thing. But then, because you really get into banking.
When you were in Athens. So when you came back, were there rewarding moments for you? Have you been promoted?
Yes, I had my first supervisory job as supervisor back in 1976. And that was the first, which is the kind of head of operation for Greenlays Bank. And then I continued with them until 1981, where I moved to, if I stayed there, I would be heading to be the GM. That time they don't call CEO, they call just general manager. But I got a better offer where one of the CEOs of other bank called me and said, Saleh, go there. There's a job for you. It's called Arab Asian Bank.
Arab Asian?
Bank, Arab Asian, yes. And there I ended up with a lot of things, expansion of the banking in Bahrain, to be the CEO, to then move to National Commercial Bank, which is the biggest bank in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, where I was CEO for almost 20 years. Wow. Then I decided to take over myself because they wanted me to continue, and they were very kind to me. But I said no. I decided I started writing. I started kind of doing things to do with that. So I said, I will be better if I'm on my own. And I started my own company. And the writing was not something I'm gifted with. No, I just thought part of what we were doing for what we call offshore banking units, when it came to Bahrain, was traveling. I'm coming all the way from Asia after many hours of flying, waiting in the airports, changing to another place, catching the next flight. And by the time I get to Bahrain, there's already another trip for London to UK. to USA and Canada. That's because all the offshore banking was all about working outside offshore. So I said, all this time I waste, if I only choose to write one piece of paper every day, this could be amount to 2 books every year. And that's what I have done. And that's what I have kind of held it like a bust for me. And not because I'm a writer, but I thought, I am so lucky that I learned a lot from people. Whatever I give is not going to be enough. And that's why, saying 30 books is not like, the number is not important. But the subjects that I have kind of been lucky to choose was governance. And that's what you see in the books, it's just like some of it. But when I went to establish my own company in 2008, until today, I think hundreds of banks in the Gulf and elsewhere, and many government entities and ministries that I was lucky to help them all by giving kind of courses, training, and also updating their procedures. Now, this is something I'm very proud of, alhamdulillah.
I am sure that you would be very proud of, because through these experiences, in your understanding, what was the impact that you were able to do where you had in the banking industry? What was, you think, your fingerprints in these years? Because I love this storyline that you mentioned, because you literally took us from the moment we don't know anything about you and how you started as, you say, like an office boy, or maybe even below that, till you reached the CEO.
Yes.
What was your, if I would say to you this, of course you have done many achievements that we cannot really capitalize it in our podcast, but just for the benefit of the guests as well, they might be also wondering that what are your most significant impact you have done to the banking industry in Bahrain?
I think, most importantly, I think the way that I was lucky and happy to start writing about governance, about the issues in the banking. There is and I was lucky also to be in the Bankers Association, where I held position of deputy for about 15 years. Through that, I think it was like the peak for all the banking in Bahrain, where every kind of month, you would go to a number of, dining opportunities or invitations, and a lot of opening of banks, expansion, or kind of visiting of some dignitaries. So we get invited, so we have that exposure to see people from outside, because our work is all outside. And as I said, when I look at these things, I said, my God, we are so lucky that in a small country called Bahrain, we get kind of invited to see people who are coming all the way from the United States, from Europe, from everywhere, from the chairman to the owner of banks, institutions. And we started having a lot of facilities arranged for them. And of course, some of them delivered, and some cause a lot of problem for the banks. And that's why one of the books I've written was on the abuse impact on Bahrain. And by my study side, my dissertation was on the future of Bahrain as international center for banking.
And has it come true?
Yes. That one I got my PhD, my bachelor, the master degree on the MBA. I got that one.
Oh, so you choose in your master dissertation, in your MBA, your subject was related to the banking through your experiences.
Yes.
So when did you do this master's?
It was in 1991.
Oh my God, 1991. By the way, this is a big shout out. People who were born in 1991, big shout out to you guys, because you come once in every 1,000 year. And I'm lucky to be one of you.
Thank you. And right now, alhamdulillah, I've also submitted and working with for my PhD, and it is on the governance, the agile governance.
Currently, you mean?
Yeah, currently, right now as you speak, we are. So I'm going, inshallah, very soon to discuss and so on, or they assign somebody and hopefully targeting, end of March next year to finalize all the requirements.
So you're in your way for your PhD. That's what you mean.
And this one is not because only PhD, but because I was able to put together all what I put in my books and all what's happening in the governance, what has changed, what changes are taking place, and like environment. You have, the social responsibility and other things that have been added and intensively discussed. They'll be part of the thing I'm doing, and hopefully that will come up. But I'm saying, why are you doing this? I said, I still say, I'm a banker. I saw everything about banking. I was kind of witness to some of the problems in the banking. I heard a lot of outside. I was able, alhamdulillah, even after I finished, to be chosen to be one of the experts for the big cases, legal cases in Bahrain.
Wow. That's so inspiring. Saleh, I could not imagine, to be honest, that our conversation will go that deep, because we dived in to one of the most important era that shaped the whole island when it's come to the banking.
Yes.
And you took us through your journey where you started from the beginning till right now. It's so fascinating, to be honest. Like, I could not imagine that we'll go that depth. And every time you're speaking about the governance, I was more interested to know the back end of your story before we dive into your journey of books. Because don't worry, we've got it sorted. And actually, by the way, Mr. Saleh didn't come empty-handed. He supplied me with 8 books of governance. One of them in particular, which is this one. It's in Arabic, and some of them are in Arabic and some of them are in English. It's a future job and the governance, and it talks about things that, interestingly, I had found out that you wrote something back in 2002. I have not read that. I'm sorry, maybe I didn't meet your expectation. I didn't have the time because busy with a lot of things around, but I just couple of pages around, and there are things that capture my attention that you wrote in 2002 and it's happening right now. How did you foresee the future related to your expertise in governance into shaping and understanding what is the future jobs looks like? And he wrote it in this book. Just a quite amazing book, actually.
I see the future jobs are derived from the fact that we were seeing the changes happening every day, every moment in the banking. And because the more the banking gets involved in the lives of the people in every country, everybody realizes, especially the regulators, that the impact on banking, if not regulated, if not properly managed, is going to be devastating. And they all saw the failures of big banks, companies. And because of that, as a person involved in banking, I said, okay, what could be the changes that are happening in the future in our jobs, in what we do? We do a lot of syndication. We talk about restructuring. Why do we restructure? Because of this 1, 2, 3, 4 problems. Okay, what will be the alternative? Then you think about what will be the jobs that will be there to make all these changes are manageable, and you can actually write a procedure for them. From that, said, okay, there's been the changes in the jobs and professions that, as you see them today, has to be there as well. And before writing the book, I started publishing these articles about the future jobs, the changes in education, everything. I started writing in one of the local papers. And the amount of feedback and comments came from the readers was incredible. I said, let's follow this. And I followed that. Then I said, these are what I think about the future jobs, the future merging between banks, and the future banking as is. I put all these articles that I put them together, plus I added something, and put them all in that book, which said the future jobs. And alhamdulillah, one of the things I just said, we will come to a point that we will not need a credit card. We don't need to carry anything with us. All what you do, your eyes, your thumbprints will be more than enough to get your cash in your pocket. And that's happening, yes, alhamdulillah. And we said also everything is going to be online. Nobody will come to banks. They will prove all these buildings, fancy buildings that banks have everywhere, has become a burden on them. And they have to find somebody to buy. And then instead, they would invest more in technology and governance. And that's why even the governance has to be agile, something that في نشاط. There is an activity, there is a way to do it in an agile way, i.e. you are able to make changes as you go along. You cannot say, I've written something. You only write something to change. You are not writing something to stay. No. You write, whatever you write is only for today, is good for today, but tomorrow is going to be another day. And each day will be only a step forward towards more IT-related technology banking, and there's nothing else. Banks who are not going into that path will have to face something called liquidation or disappearance. It's happening.
Right. Although I don't really understand what you said right now, but I have a better understanding of the cause and how it can have an impact somehow. I don't know, but somehow I feel. Now, for the benefit of the guests and the people who doesn't know what governance is, from your perspective, how would you describe it?
Governance is something very simple.
Maybe for you. I like when you said it's simple.
You know why? Because governance is all about the things that you do to make your business work. So if you have a business, what do you need? You need to have the people to do the work. You have the materials to do it, and you have the ability to sell it. Yes? Without having all of this, you cannot sell.
Right.
I just repeat, you should have the material, whatever it is. You should have the people to do it. The people is very important. And the system to do it, which is, and that could be in the form of people, management, owners, promoters, all these guys. They are all this. People have to get together to add to anything, and you have materials. Now, this is a book. If I ask a question, what made this book? What made this book possible?
What?
You have, papers.
Papers.
Binders.
Hard copy, maybe. I mean, like hard
you have somebody
binding.
Somebody who's written it. You have somebody who make it to look this way, designing, to get a book. So any company to be governed properly has to have people, material, and somebody who approves that material, which is, and that's why you have in any environment of governance, you have material, people, and the people, you have two, three categories. You have the employees, you have the customers, you have the government, all of these. So the governance stands for the thing that you have to do, how to establish the company. How do you apply? You have the rules to apply it. You have the people to do it, and then you can market it easily. Without that, and also these regulations that you put in place and the system you put in place should be able to make the company known for its quality management without having them to say so. I'll give you an example. If you look to the traffic light, it has 3 colors. Anyone who passes that will respect the colors and what they demand. Stop, red. Green, go. Yellow, be careful. Be ready. Somebody has made the governance of that machine perfect. And therefore, it's respected without having somebody there to tell you, do this and do that. This is where the company, if you have the right people, the right systems, and the right funding, then you will be getting your customers in a very easy way.
And that's, in your perspective, is simply governance.
That's the governance. You put something in any company, right systems, right procedures, right people, and of course, right products. Then you can, that's the governance you have put into it that will take you to the customers who will buy whatever you have gladly.
Right. So
if you have the best product, but there is no funding, you don't have people to do that thing, the same thing. So it is the three things. People to do things. You have the materials that you have to, your product, what's your products? And you have to do all of this within laws and regulation that are written, and they treat people in a fair way.
I agree on that. But my question is, I'm more interested to know from your perspective, because who make these governance? What if the one who's supposed to do that governance was I wouldn't say a bad guy, but he did not do it as per the standard. So it's a chaos, right?
No. Yes, it is. That's why the role of the government everywhere and central banks is very crucial, very important to make sure these regulations are issued, and those people who are in the business, they have to apply them.
So the governance come from, for example, in the banking, the governance come from central bank.
Yes, of course. It just gives the banks and financial institutions the way to have that governance invented and respected and executed and followed. Just give you examples.
Yes. I was about to ask you something related to that.
If you have a policy in a bank or an institution, you should have a policy. It's called conflict of interest, despite of the governance requirement. In anything you do, you declare you have no conflict of interest. For employees, you have to have code of conduct. As an employee, you can do this, you cannot do this. For example, if you see something wrong, you have to report it. If you see something broken, you have to ask. If somebody broke confidential documents and made available to others, this is all anti-governance. So the governance is the rules and regulation that you put in place with the resources to manage it that really make your business within the international accepted standards.
Interesting. Now I want to dive into your perspective, because I love that. I did not understood it to the way you explain it. I mean, I didn't understood it prior to shooting this episode, just like I understood it now through your simple articulation of it and explaining it in very wise chosen words. It makes it so easy for me to understand, and I'm sure for the audience as well. From your insight, from your perspective, what are the things that the government does when it's come to ethical leadership?
Yes, this is where it's very, at the end of the day, I keep telling people, there is nothing called company. There's no called association. There's nothing called society, whatever. All these are, we talk about a human being, because did you see in your life a company, works?
No, it should be with all the human capital. There's
so we are talking about the governance can be applied only on people, for the sake of people, not for the sake of the company, which is just a name. You get me? So the regulators, they know exactly for them to have better governance of the institution, that follows them. They need to have the right management, starting with the shareholders, board, management, staff. They should be all subject to scrutiny, checking that you are going to make Saleh, who is CEO, dealing and making decisions to move billions of dollars. Who is he? What is his track record? What does he do in his past? Does he have any conflict of interest? Because if you don't check these things, and that's why there is a list that they have to check and sign. Because also, what do you do to check this is actually done? That's why you have the audit. You have the internal audit and you have the external audit. Let alone what you know, like you have risk management, you have other things. All these committees were not even required before. Now, not only banking is required to do this, but mostly, for example, even family business. Family business, they will have to do this. They have to apply with the governance. We have to apply with these requirements. And this is where, to put the right governance, you have to make sure you shield it with having in place all what it takes to have systems and procedures that people can read and comply with. And that's why the central banks keep on updating their regulation whenever there is something new happen, whenever there is a new problems happen or some disaster happen. We learn more from mistakes than not.
Yeah, I agree on that.
So that's what the governance is. Not something like invented, no. Everything, if you look around you, even in the whole universe, we all believe there is a God there. All the governance to do with the is there. When it rains, when it has clouds, that's all there. And people underneath each other, or the human being, will have to respect that in their businesses. So businesses who are doing in fishing, they have to make sure, they have to, when the wind changes, when the high tide changes, the same thing in the company. What kind of regulation that you put in place, what kind of position you create in the company that would help you to mitigate and address these risks. And that is all called governance.
I had a question for you. What is the one thing that inspired you to write so many books about this topic and you not diving in a lot of other topics?
Yeah, I was lucky to be able to start reading books from the age of 15 before. And even when I was at the age of 16, I have friends going to Beirut for their exams, Jamaat Beirut al-Arabiya. And always I said, bring me books. Just fascinating. I was fascinated with books. So from reading the books, we got into ourselves in banking. See, books for banking is different. I was reading stories, novels, I was reading some with history. But these books generally are very little, very few on the governance. And the first time I really hear governance was my son, number 2. I sent him to study in UK, in one of the universities. And he called me, Dad, I was asked to have an assignment submitted in 5 days on the activism of shareholders. And this is part of our corporate governance. He was telling me this. So I clicked that kind of thing. That was in 2000. It's 2000. He was there. Then I said, my God, I was involved before then in a lot of writing of the procedure, policy and procedure for everything in the bank. So I said, governance is something good. I heard it for the first time. Let me read more. I started reading, taking interest. And we are lucky we go on the internet and get everything. And I said, it's my duty to write something about it and encourage others to do the same. But this is what I have done. I said, okay, governance is something I would like to do something because it entails everything. your personal life governance, your community governance, your economy, your government. So like now today, I have governance in the government entities, governance in family businesses, and governance in the other, all that. All, if you don't have in any company good governance of the government itself, or the families, and family businesses, as we know, own more than 94% of the world economy. Because people know them only a family company, business only like where the family has a business. But most of us do not realize that they also own most of the listed companies' shares. This 94% of all the economies in the world owned by family business. Somebody, where is the rest? The 6% is only for people who are not family, because they could be charities, other thing. But this is the kind of thing people do not know, and that's why you cannot afford to have governance for the banks, government, and not for the family business. Family business comes first. And now there is a focus on this. Alhamdulillah, when I published my first book on the family business, I had people calling me from everywhere. What do you mean by this? I said, don't worry. Read this Arabic, the English version. You read them. And most of those who actually were swearing at me because I've written this were kind enough to call me to write it for them and do training and so on. Because family business, if it's not run properly, not governed properly, they could easily vanish as a company. And this one, I have, alhamdulillah, many companies in Bahrain and elsewhere over the years to write constitutions and family charters with all the procedures that comes with that. And I'm glad that I was able to do that.
Interesting. It's really interesting to have an in-depth understanding of how your creativity really works and what makes you dive into such a topic and such a demand. So there is not a lot of people wrote about that.
No, I'm glad to see some people have tried, but still I think there is a lot of room. As I said, the agility of the governance is very important. And the agile being someone just like a sportsman, he has to be fit all the time, ready to go for the batch of the time. The governance is also the same. You have to have people with understanding that whatever you're written today is only good for today.
Yeah. And
tomorrow there is a change.
Exactly.
Everything is on IT. Everything is on online. The governance that you have the day before, talking about a transaction that you've done at leisure, is no longer there. They have to go with the way the economy, the whole world is going. And agility is very important.
I like that. So you believe that your topic will be still relevant?
Yes.
Although that the technology has evolved.
They cannot do without.
I
think if we go to heaven or the other place, we have to be prepared that there will be a form of governance applied.
Well said.
Yeah, because just like for a company, if you say, but the governance, you have to say, this is how it's established, how it is run, and if it is to be liquidated, this is what you have to do, which is the end, yes? But the more people know about governance, but they can do the job in a better way because they understand their responsibility. And people go to work and they never know. They have a written policy about what to do and what not to do. They don't know that they have a policy on if there's a fire, what to do. And some of them have, and they see it, but nobody trained them to do it. Nobody does a fire drill. This is the kind of thing. So, and this is in at your home. As I said, they go and start with you as at home. If you are not taking care of yourself, training, sports, doing some exercises, then you are very bad on personal governance side. If you are not taking care of your family, their education, their well-being, then it means you also are not taking care of your family governance. And that's why in this book,
You can show it to the camera.
I'm glad to say that this book has, I've written 3 books on governance. And there is a professor who is based in the United States. He was very kind to come all the way from there. We sat together. He put all my books in here, plus he added something. And then it was published, with the kind of thing that there is a kind of chart here.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about personal governance, corporate governance, and then people sometimes, they have the book, stay with them for it, they never look at this. And it gives from personal side, what do you do about your governance as a person? What do you do about your health, your education?
It talks about internal, external, knowledge learning, and financial. Wow, this is so
on
emotionally strong, satisfaction.
You have another one after
physically.
It talks about the corporate.
It's like so for the benefit of the readers right now, of the people that they are listening right now, is there any way that they can find these books or order it online?
We will do it online, but for time being, they can call me. My number can be very possible, and I'll be very happy to.
Maybe email you better.
Yeah, you can email me.
Yep.
And you are at liberty to receive the email and forward it to me. I'll be very happy.
Of course.
And of course, you have the third insert, because this is, as you said, the personal one. Then you have the
company,
corporate, and you have the combined one.
Combined one. Wow. That's so interesting and so generous from you.
Because his company is a kind of it's formed by people, right? And systems, and then you get this. So the whole book, kind of the way it's written, the 3 books I've written are all in these 3 sheets, 3 inserts.
Interesting.
And I said, it's not something new. It's just what I'm trying to do is to help people to understand governance is not something that has imported to you, not by states, United States, not by England, not anybody. No, it is everywhere. Even if you look at the religion, any religion, you will find all the governance that are required for human beings and communities are actually spelled out there. So it's all what to do. We have to read.
Yeah, I will quote one thing that my previous guest has mentioned, that leaders are readers, leaders are leaders, and I really that stood with me. And one of the guests that I really value, and you know him very well, but it was so fascinating for him to mention that. I want to dive in a little bit before we end this podcast to talk about your leadership style. Mm-hmm. Because it's not about that you were intellectual, you were really good governant, and you used it for yourself, and then you wrote about it, and then you're inspired of writing, and then you're inspired to give the community back. And that's one of the things that I value about you, and that's why the reason why actually I asked you to be in the podcast is because I understood there is a huge goal in your perspective and that you want to pursue, is that to give the community back, to do it back. And I think this is one of the things that you have may agree to come in the podcast, is to share knowledge and experiences. Sure. Right? Tell me about leadership side of it, because you clearly, it's not only about, like I said, your intellectual and your ability, it's also about your leadership skills.
Yes. You see, I was lucky, as you can to be gradually taking positions from clerk to CEO. And of course, thereafter, I was also chairman for a number of institutions. That I was just a chairman, they call it independent chairman. And I thought it would be totally inappropriate that I tell people, do this, do that, and I don't apply it myself. So I took it that the most important element of assets that I have are the people that are around me, and they should be aware of what they do. They have to also see what I preach, I do myself. It's very important.
You mean to say you want to lead by example?
Example, yes. And I cannot say this is conflict interest and I apply that. I don't say do this. And alhamdulillah, I was very lucky that most of the banks, people that I work with, They were with me for a good number of years. And some of them for 20 years, for 15 years. And I came to points that I just go to them and said, anyone who would like to do master degree or whatever degree, I will pay for it. The bank, of course, doesn't pay for my pocket. But alhamdulillah, over the number of banks that I worked with, I was able to encourage them to do it. And because of my position, I was helping them to pay for the education. And those are people with kids, with people who finished the school where they were like secondary school only. But they took it upon themselves to go for master's degree, some to PhD, and I'm very glad. It's just because I said people will not appreciate fully what you say if you don't do it to them. I was lucky when I was doing a PhD, my master's degree, that the bank came and said, "What are you doing, Mr. Hussain? Doing this? We're going to pay for it." I did not ask for it. So I said to myself, I will not be less considerate to the others. And that's what I have done, alhamdulillah. And many people, we were able, in my time, to encourage them to do this. Not only that, my own children, I made it a point for them.
So inspiring.
I made it a point to them, while some of them were actually eligible for the government usual subsidy for I said, no, there are some people who are in need for it. You are not. I'm going to do it. Alhamdulillah, I was very happy to get them all up to PhD. To the
Masters.
Master.
Wow. So you not only changed their life, you changed their future of their whole family, that depending on that gentleman or that guy, that you were there to inspire him to do his higher studies and be certified, and then to be a better position, and then to be earning much better. So you're not impacting him specifically, instead
it's the whole family. Yeah,
you indirectly impact the whole community instead, because it's not one person that you did this to. No. You did it for
all the employees. That's what they would have to do. Some of them did not take it because of their own positions or their performance. And not only that, we made sure whatever we have written there, somebody does it. Not only kind of read it and just to go home and be happy that we written something.
Yeah, just like these companies nowadays, they just talks about values, they talks about engagement, they talks about this and that, and they talks about great leadership and how we could be great leaders. Yeah. But unfortunately, they don't follow themselves.
And that is the failure of people to put themselves in the shoes of the others. Okay, they don't. They say, for example, or they do something like I'm a CEO and I do something, but what I say and what I do are different things. And this is very important that you have to give the example. Like one of the things that we've done, and I'm very proud of it, in the last July, that is that we made it a point for almost 15 years in a row to take all the staff to Hwar trip every year for 2 nights at our cost, not only the employee, his wife and children, all of them. We were about between 100 to 120 to 150 sometimes. And just imagine the relationship that we have created between the sons and daughters of our employees. Some of them got married already. Some of them know each other. Some certainly will apply this in the jobs they go. Because as a manager, I'm useless if I don't have the right people to do the job. And why the people that are working for me cannot have some of what if not all, some of the benefits that I have, to encourage them to do the job for them, they can help me to do my job better. And I can be comfortable that if I'm not in the office, as I told you, we were doing a lot of traveling, the work's still done. The work is still continued. The same year I'm performing regardless of the fact I am there or not there. And this is something we are lucky as a team in the banks that I worked to create. And some of them, even though they have left the banks a long time ago, I did a long time ago, but we still friends. Our children are friends with their children, and that's the kind of thing. Never think about something for you, forgetting what others can also have what we want, maybe more. Give them the opportunity. They will speak. They will do.
Wow, that's so inspiring. That's so really inspiring. I told you to give me an example of leadership, and you give me a story that way you embed the leadership into actions, and you have changed your life of a people.
Yeah.
Wow.
As I said, I feel much comfortable that I was able to do this, and I would have felt very bad if I didn't. Because if I have given the chance to others, not only the people that work for me, but people who employed me, were able to demonstrate that for me. Especially, as I said, the last 20 years, with Bin Mahfouz, who are the owners of the Bank Al-Ahli, they were like model. So down to earth, very helpful. And with that, I try only to match some of their goodness through offering what they were able to offer to me.
Interesting. That's really, really interesting. I think I am inspired by your stories, and there are no words can describe me the feeling I'm feeling right now of being vulnerable and being who you are and sharing this interesting stories and give us a reason why we should always give back to the community. And I think you did this beautifully. The way you share your experiences, the way you describe your journey is so authentic. Just like this book here, Authentic Governance, you provide me with an authentic experience in the importance of governance in ourselves, companies, and people around us, systems.
That's why we said authentic Italian food, authentic Iranian food. Authenticity, being authentic means true. So being a man with authentic governance, you know what are you doing is not going to harm people. It has to be only in their benefit to do their job right. And that's why being very authentic in what you do, so you will going to be very healthy as you go for the authentic food.
I love that.
And this last book I want to say, this is the social responsibility, which they have like a big issue now. When I wrote about it also, there was more than 20 years ago. So, social responsibility for the board of directors of companies. They have to be aware of their responsibility towards society. Without society, we do not exist. No businesses
can thrive and reach their potential without.
This is all of this, and really, it's a journey that I was lucky to be through.
Wow. And what a journey to be with me in the podcast, to discuss all of that in details and sharing with me such lovely, inspiring leadership, thoughtful things that you've been through. That's so amazing. I couldn't really imagine that we go this deep, to be honest, because we dived into the most important things. And I'm a curious by nature, and I love to dig deep into the guests. And so you were the first guest that I go dig deeper when it's come to the understanding the previous culture of our beloved country, our beloved island. Yeah. And so it's evolving. And so how much you've done yourself to the banking itself, and then how much you're giving back to the community, and then believing in this moment where you were sitting in the airport, where you got inspired to write a book, and turns out to write many books, and then till you reach approximately 30 books.
Yeah, 30 plus, yes. And I contribute a lot also with so many other books where I just write a chapter. There are almost more than 7 or 8 I've done that. Some international, I don't even know them. And some with the people here in Bahrain, and with some of the GCC. So my chapter usually will be on governance, because you see, this is where it was very important for people to understand the governance. All these startups, we do understand. Everybody understands that one person, they feel that they cannot afford to have audit, risk management. They're just starting. They would like to just earn some money to feed their children.
Yeah.
But you tell them even from day one, if you know it's governance, you're gonna you build things block by block. So when you're up in your business or down, you know what to do. You know whom to recruit, why you recruit, what kind of thing you would like to expect them to do. People are entitled to know what they are employed for, what they are doing. No matter whether you're a startup, mature business, or medium size or large size, the same. It's just the proportion is different. And with that in mind, you are all serving the community, society. So nobody say, I'm small, I'm not gonna kind of serve this way. I'm only middle size, I'm not gonna do this. No, you have to do your part within the domain of the business you are in, but respect the governance, because it is at the end of the day good for you. If it is bad governance, and we have seen that so many banks failed, so many corporations failed, and who is paying the cost of their failure?
The employees.
Yes, employees, clients, regulators. So it's better to have yourself on personally as governed person as possible, and I'm sure you will do things in a better way.
Saleh, thank you so much for your time. I really value your time. I value your input. I value your vulnerables and experiences and lessons and the beating you got to throw. I didn't get many, I'm assuming.
Yeah, maybe my father was right. If he did not give me that beating, I wouldn't have been the man I am today.
I don't know really, but I like the analogy of how it turns out you apply that beating into allowing your kids to be certified and also to have the ambitions not only on your kids, instead of giving it back to the people who work for you and emphasize and give the community and do so much for the people. I can't thank you enough, Saleh, for your valuable knowledge, for your valuable experiences that you share. Now, before I end up this podcast, anything in particular you want to mention to the audience that they're listening to us?
What I say, do not sleep one day with something called impossible. If you say anything that as a human being, you have all what it takes to address anything. If you say I am incapable, I cannot, then you have put yourself and surrounded yourself with a lot of blocks that will not take you to what you want to do, because you are not up to it. You just said I can't. And that's why they say success comes in cans and failures in cannots. So choose the cans or cannots.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before I end up something, I just had one thought in my perspective. This is the last question. Mm-hmm. Have you reached or have you achieved what's your order of your purpose? Do you believe that you reached that?
I think to some extent, I was lucky to be in a position to write my experiences, and that is, unfortunately, many people did not do this, because I learned this from people and I wanted to give back. So I achieved that in that respect. But it's not the end. As I said, I'm going for a PhD, going for this. I could choose another, easier subject, but no, this is to me what I believed in, done, exercised, and I think I can add something to it. And that is what you have to do. What passion do you have in life? It's nice to talk about. It's not easy to do. And then it's not easy to keep doing. But I will not take it the easy way. I'll always believe in myself, believe in the things I can do. And if you don't believe in yourself, nobody will.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in and watched this length of an episode. It was full of governance from the very beginning till the end. Saleh, It's been a true pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe and share the word to the people who might be benefited from this. And my promise is the bigger we get, the bigger guests that you wanted, that you always seek for, and their perspective, and understand their perspective, we're going to dive deep to make sure to give you the knowledge, experiences, and lessons learned so that you don't have to do it for them. With this, I would thank you all for tuning in, and I wish you the best of luck, and see you until the next one.
Thank you very much.